Well, good morning. This is Friday. You made it through week one. So, yeah. I'm really talking to the faculty and staff. Well, welcome to the 2022 Convocation. We are very glad that all of you have joined us. Probably about an hour long, but this is just one of those ceremony kind of things that really is about starting not just the semester, not just the year, but for most of you starting your college career. And so we'll talk more about that as our speakers. So let me introduce some folks that need to be introduced. So first of all, Ms. Carol Sylvie. Carol is our president of the Missouri State University Board of Governors and a member of our West Plains community. So Carol's right over here. Dr. Linda Wolf-Reiser, and she's our chair of our faculty senate, carrying the May Senate. Brian Moore. Brian, why don't you stand up? There you go. And Brian's our chair of our staff senate. And then I want to make sure, I'm going to recognize all the folks who just marched in. This is our faculty and staff. Some of them, not all of them, but we're glad to see all of their faces. Would you all stand? I'm going to make you stand. Turn around. There you go. Yeah, big hand for them. A lot of work goes into not just the first day, but every day. So appreciate them very much. I am pleased to be able to introduce to you Ms. Zora Mulligan. Zora has joined Missouri State University as the Executive Vice President after having served as Commissioner of Higher Education for the state of Missouri for 6 years, the longest anyone who's held that job since 2000. During her time as Commissioner, she advocated for record levels of funding for higher education, including significant investments in student financial aid and core funding for public colleges and universities. She has a long track record of strengthening organizations by growing and empowering strong leaders, identifying the resources they need to be successful, and creating a culture of accountability and results. And as most of you know, she's a native of West Plains and has been a huge fan of Missouri State for many, many years. So let me introduce Zora Mulligan.
And good morning. It's really a pleasure to be here. As Dennis said, I'm a native of West Plains. I graduated from West Plains High School in the year 1994, which suddenly is a very, very long time ago. Although I have to say it doesn't feel like as long ago as all that. I bring greetings this morning from President Cliff Smart. President Smart was unable to attend today. He's spending some time with the governor on the Springfield campus, and I'm sure that he's going to get his money's worth out of that time. So hopefully some good relationship building will come from that encounter. So I'm, like I said, very, very glad to be here. Any chance to get down to West Plains is always something that I enjoy and appreciate. My parents actually don't live here anymore. My dad moved away when I was in law school, which was in the early 2000s, to meet a very nice woman he met on the internet who lives in Canada, so he's one reason that I don't come home. My mom also has moved away and now lives in the thriving metropolis of Mountain View, and so I spend a lot of time in Mountain View, which has a lot of great qualities, but it is no West Plains. So it's really good to have a work reason to get back home. You know, as Dennis mentioned, as the Chancellor mentioned, I've had a job that has taken me around the state for the last 6 years, and really all of my professional experiences have been statewide jobs. I worked for the Attorney General's office for several years right after I graduated from law school, and so spent some time down here talking with landowners about the importance of preserving our beautiful streams and rivers and helping them understand what they can do to do that. I also worked for the Department of Higher Education in a previous life, and that involved a lot of travel all over the state. Worked for the University of Missouri system, again, a statewide job, and then as commissioner spent time in communities and on campuses around the state. And one of the things that I have brought away from all of those experiences is the very clear understanding that West Plains is a special place. I had a really phenomenal experience here with a great high school education. Just a really wonderful community. There is a strong cadre of West Plains alum who work in different capacities around the Capitol in Jefferson City. and we are obnoxiously well connected to each other and cannot wait to talk about West Plains. And so I could give examples of, meetings of 10 people where 2 of us happen to be from West Plains, and we would spend the first 5 minutes talking about how fantastic our hometown is. I asked other people, do people from other hometowns do this? And they say, no, it's really just you guys. So there is something special about this community, about the beauty of this place that really keeps it in people's hearts long after they grow up and move away. So it's a big thing. Another important thing about this community and the Ozarks is it's a really big deal for us. There's going to be a huge celebration in Washington, D.C. in connection with the Smithsonian Folklife Institute, celebrating the people of the Ozarks. And a lot of that is going to focus on things that have happened in and around West Plains. So I'm looking forward to being in Washington, D.C. next summer as an actual specimen of a Humanus Ozarkus, so I can be on display there in the mall. But it's really going to be a big year for this special place. I also, in this job and in my previous jobs, had the opportunity to give commencement speeches at colleges and universities around the state. I really only had one successful commencement address that I gave pretty much every time, but I also tried out one. And I think it's worth noting that both of them were really about West Plains and about the foundation that I had had growing up here as a person whose life was changed by higher education, not through my own higher education experiences, but really through those of my mother. So that was the successful one. The unsuccessful one was called, well, I'm not sure I should say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It was, so I grew up in a house about probably 2 miles from here, maybe a mile from here. And at the time there was a residential living facility where a lot of people who had pretty severe disabilities lived. And so at the time they were out and about in the community, and it was a really distinctive thing about the part of West Plains that I lived in and about the community as a whole. And so I had this whole speech about that. I gave it once, never gave it again because it was sort of strange. So bottom line, West Plains, very, very formative experience in a really, really important place. I would also say that Missouri State West Plains is a very special place. Again, having visited with communities around the state, there are a lot of communities that are really desperate for some kind of post-secondary institution to help educate the kids who stay home and help bring smart young people from around the region to their community. And so in communities like Cape Girardeau, which have a great public university but no community college option. In communities like St. Joseph, again, a great public university but no 2-year option. Leaders in both of those communities approached me during the entirety of my time as the Commissioner of Higher Education, talking about why can't we just have what West Plains has? It's so important to a community to have what West Plains has. And so I think it's important for you to know that this model, which is unusual in the state of Missouri, is one that's really held up as a highly successful example and one that other communities would be desperate to have for their own resource. It's also really an important anchor tenet of this community of West Plains, of Howell County, of the Ozarks more broadly. My observation in visiting places around the state is that if a town has a hospital, a courthouse, and a college, they're going to do okay. So in that longer term thinking about making sure that our place is a place that we can live and that our kids will want to live, the college is a really, really essential part of that for lots of different reasons. The most important of which is sitting, here, bringing students to West Plains to learn and grow here is a very important driver of progress in the community of West Plains and in the county. And so just that vitality that comes with having students in town, students on campus, everything that they're going to learn from faculty as well as from staff changes the fabric of this community in a way that is profoundly for the better. It's also important, to think of this university in terms of the way that it makes a difference in individual people's lives. So I mentioned that, when I go to commencement and give an address, I talk a lot about how higher education has the power to really change people's lives. And that belief for me was formed by watching my mom go back to school when I was in 3rd and 4th grade. My mom was a smart person who started college, dropped out, moved to the Ozarks, had a crazy adventure, worked at shoe factories, worked at wedding dress factories. When those factories started to leave to do business in other countries, Mom was able to take advantage of a federal job training program that allowed her to become an LPN, so a licensed professional nurse. She was an LPN for most of the time that I was a little kid, and then she realized that with a little bit more education, she would be able to do a little bit more. And so she was not able to get it together to be in the first class of nurses to graduate from Missouri State West Plains, but she was in the second class of nurses who graduated from Missouri State West Plains. and it had a profound impact on our life. You know, the difference between being an LPN and being an RN in terms of opportunities to advance and just generally a more stable life made a very, very big difference for her, and also a really big difference for me. So just seeing the power of a 2-year degree to really reshape the direction that a family's life is going to take had a major influence on me, and I think it's easy to see all of the influence that it will have on your lives as well too. So it's a really, really big thing. I've been very happy as the commissioner to support the expansion of the nursing program here, but also to help West Plains think about how can we piece together, you know, other programs that will lead directly to work. And so things like the welding program are a really good example of programs that complement the great general education that this university has always provided, and thinking about some things that are more specific and more directly tied to the workforce. So I'm very, very delighted to be here and see all of the progress that's been made. The last thing I would just say is that you are special. You know, the life of a 2-year institution is different than the life of a 4-year institution. One of my jobs along the way was leading the Missouri Community College Association, and although Missouri State West Plains isn't a community college, it's a 2-year institution. It's an open enrollment institution that welcomes students from all different kinds of backgrounds. And so I know that this work is a mission. It's not just a job. And so faculty and staff, I just want to thank you for everything you do to help the students who arrive at your university be successful in whatever path they choose. So faculty and staff, thank you for the work that you do. And students, you guys are special too. I want to say good luck. I think that most of you are first years. I think the advice I would give to a first-year student is that everyone is feeling approximately equally awkward, and it will take a little bit of time to find your place. I think it is very, very important for you to find a person on campus, a faculty or a staff member with whom you have some kind of connection, a person that you can go to when things start to feel a little bit weird or they start to feel a little bit too hard. I really encourage you to find the helper and figure out how to establish a relationship with that person. The other thing that's really critical in making sure that students can be successful is attaching to an organization or a class or a program that you can be really involved in, really engaged in, that's forward-looking. So it's thinking about, what am I going to do when I graduate from this place? And that will help you prepare for whatever comes next after this university. So it's going to be an amazing year. You have a lot to celebrate, and I look forward to seeing you again as the year progresses. Thank you for having me today.
So it occurred to me while Zora was speaking, and this is probably not the appropriate time to ask, so I'm probably going to ask it anyway. There's a business in town on Porter Wagner called Mulligan's. Is there a connection? No connection, okay.
I don't know anything about what they sell.
It just hit me that it was the same name. Not that I've ever been there, I'm just saying. Okay, well, good morning. I am Dr. Angela Toddy, Vice Chancellor for Student Services, and very excited to get this semester going. I have the distinct privilege of introducing to you Jackson Wright, who is serving this year as the SGA President. Jackson began his career here in fall of 2021, so this time last year he was sitting right over there as he started his journey as a worker in our admissions office and working with the ambassadors. So he was sitting where you're sitting now, and yet this year he's on the stage. You too could also be on the stage, so be thinking about that, because there are a lot of ways you can be involved while you're a student here at Missouri State West Plains. So through his involvement with the admissions and the ambassador program, he began to seek out other leadership roles and became the treasurer for SGA last year. And then in spring of last year, he had a successful campaign and was elected, along with his running mate Logan Brewer, who is also sitting right here, as to serve as the student body's president for this year, 22-23. So in addition to his SGA president, he will continue in his role with admissions and the ambassadors, and he also added the role of resident assistant this year. And he has been described as salty, but not sus. All right, so here to deliver his speech, what it means to be a Grizzly, I introduce Jackson Wright.
A bunch of short people have to pull the microphone out. I wanted to correct Dr. Toddy, I was actually sitting over here. But again, good morning everyone. It's great to have the opportunity to stand in front of you today I've been tasked with the opportunity to tell you what it means to be a Grizzly to me. And I don't have it in the right order, but if you would, think of the acronym or the word ICE. Today I'm going to give you 3 words of what it means to me to be a Grizzly. You all in this auditorium have decided to be a Grizzly. You've decided that this is a place where you want to start your educational journey, maybe continue your athletic journey, and then grow from here. And we appreciate that. We appreciate you giving Missouri State University West Plains the opportunity to grow that. The first word I want to look at is commitment. I have to ask you guys a simple question. A lot of the past SGA presidents have told me that this is how you start a speech, so we're going to give it a shot. Raise your hand if you're here because you're getting bonus points or points for IDS spots. Okay, so that's the little number I expected. I expected there to be everybody here to say that. But no, that is something. That shows that you're committed to not only the university, you're committed to the students around you, you're committed to the teachers or the professors that you serve, and you're committed to maintaining a grade that we offer here. Each and every one of you here today have decided to make this journey. You decided to take 1 hour out of your day to attend this ceremony, to meet new people. This week you maybe have met new people, started a new journey, and even did whatever it takes to succeed in this year or this week. The first week is always difficult, but this shows your commitment to, again, not only the university, but the students around you, the professors around you, the staff, the faculty that are willing to serve you every day. The second pillar and the second word I want to look at is involvement. To me, a Grizzly is always involved. One special thing about this university is that it has many student organizations that you can get plugged into, many different on-campus jobs that you can apply for, and many events that you can participate in and attend for free. A study by the University of Ohio State in 2021 found that students who were highly involved in student life while attending college were 2 to 3 times more likely to be hired or considered for a job by employers and 11 to 18% more career ready. This university doesn't sell short of trying to get involved. Here at MSU West Plains, as I stated earlier, we have many different student organizations for everyone to be a part of. It shouldn't be difficult for students to get involved here at Missouri State University West Plains. If you're seeking help and seeking a student organization to join, just ask someone, and we're always willing to help. This week, Welcome Week was held, and today wraps it up. A time for new students to meet old students, new students to meet new students, and to mingle with one another, to get to know one another, to enjoy one another's company, because you're going to be with these people for the rest of the year. It is important to be involved because you can form friendships that could ultimately last longer than just college. The third and final point I want to be looking at is what it means to be a Grizzly is enjoyment. Enjoy what you're doing here. If you aren't enjoying what you are doing, then why are you doing it? It is very important to enjoy what you are doing. This is another thing the university has in place for everyone. This whole week we had some very fun activities for you to partake in, and that is only a hint as to what is to come. We have a few sports teams that you can go and watch here at the Civic Center and on the local high school or the city fields. While sleeping and doing your homework is important, it shouldn't be the only thing you're doing here on campus. If you live in a dorm room, get out. Do some of the activities that we put on, because we do it for you guys. Here at MSU West Plains, we have something for everyone. To sit and enjoy, and most of the time, it is free. I challenge you today to get plugged in with at least one student organization, one student activity, something while on campus. Don't just be one of those that goes back to their house or to their dorm room, sleeps, and does homework, because you're never going to grow like that. Make it something you love, you enjoy doing, because in the end, you'll feel better about not only yourself, but you'll feel at home. And you'll feel connected with those friends you have made. If you become involved with something you enjoy, your commitment will soar. So I ask you, what does it mean to be a Grizzly? First, it means that you're committed to not only your grades and success in school, but those around you. Second, it means you're involved. Go out and find new people, new ways to give back to the university and community. And finally, to enjoy what you're doing. Friends, this time will fly by. This time last year, like Dr. Toddy said, I was sitting out here and I did not expect to be up here a year from now. And it doesn't seem like a year from now that I was. So let's enjoy what we're doing now. Let's make it worth our time. Don't sit in your dorm room, at your house, playing video games, sleeping, and doing homework all day. It's important, but get out and do something. Be connected. Go out and find a student organization to be a part of, because if you join it, you won't regret it, and I can promise you that. If you don't join, there's a strong chance you're never going to have that chance again. Before I close this morning, I want to leave you with a quote from an anonymous author. It says, "Success is a commitment, not a word." So as a Grizzly, I want you to remember the word ICE: involvement, commitment, and enjoyment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. You might be here next year as chancellor. Who knows? When I was all of 6 years old, we went to Six Flags Over Texas. Anybody been to Six Flags Over Texas? How many of you have ever been lost? Some of you are admitting to that. I was 6 years old and got lost at Six Flags Over Texas. So I won't give you my mother's side of the story, but I will give you mine. I had a great time. I didn't know where I was. I had some people helping me, giving me ice cream and whatever to, at some point I did get kind of concerned about things. But it was okay for a while. And then I remember hearing this sound, which was my mother's voice. And it was calling my name. So my name's Dennis Lancaster. So she said, "Dennis." So this was a crowded place, and I heard my mother's voice call my name. Your name is a very special thing. It is how you identify yourself, for the most part. When you introduce yourself, it's usually with your first name, right? When you go to class, we want to know what your name is. And I think it's incredibly important for us as faculty and staff to know as many of our students' names as possible. Because, again, you're associated as a person with a name with them. So one of the other things you do with your name is you make commitments, right? So you signed a lot of forms to get into college. Some of you have signed forms to be married. Maybe you've bought a car. Maybe you've done whatever it is that you've done. When you have signed your name on those documents, it is to make a commitment of who you are. Now, consider for a minute if you didn't know what your name was, and you started to sign a form. Are you making a commitment? Are you someone else? What is that? As Jackson, I think, rightly noted, that a part of what you're doing here is figuring out who you are. And then if you were in one of our STAR sessions, I kind of gave you the idea that you got to figure that out sometime soon. You got to figure out why you're here, because if you don't know why you're here, it will get rough later in the semester, and then you can just blow it off. So today, in a symbolic kind of thing, we're going to have you sign your name. We've been doing this for, 13, 14 years, something like that. There are 2 books up here. We call them the Books of Grizzly. And they include the names of as many freshmen who came to Convocation over the years. And they have signed their names. So many, actually some people who are sitting down here as faculty and staff members have signed their names to this Book of Grizzlies. And they're here in another form of commitment. So we're going to ask you to do that. We're going to let you go row by row. We're going to do this very quickly, all right? So, don't dilly-dally, don't put little hearts above your name or anything. So we're going to do this quickly. We're going to come down the side. So if you are on this side of the auditorium, you're going to line up here row by row. On this side, you're going to do that too. So we're going to release you row by row. And have you sign your name. Now, if you did this last year or a previous year, we need to skip. So ambassadors, if you've done this last year, then this is for the new freshmen. Okay. Now, if you didn't do it last year or during the pandemic, you're invited to sign. All right, got that? Everybody understands? So we're going to come up here. You're going to go this side. It's going to come to this book, and then you're going to go down the steps. Be careful going down the steps, and then go back to your seats. At the end, when we're done, we'll do a little bit, and then I think Dr. Toddy's going to have the drawing for something. There's a drawing. Major prizes, I'm sure, are part of that. But remember why you're signing your name. Okay? Not just because Dennis asked you to do it. Why you're signing your name. Why you're here. What's this semester going to be like for you? what's the year going to be like? What's this degree program? What's your college degree? Maybe not what your life's going to be. Maybe that's not just what you're going to do, but it's part of it. All right. Wow, let's have some fun. Let's do that. So, my faculty and staff members who are going to be helping you do this, they're going to release you again, row by row. Come to the sides, and then let's go. Let's have some faculty and staff members who are on the sides. Okay, letting our faculty, our students know that's their row. Mark, would you do us a favor? The Marks, Mark, would you go row by row, help them go row by row? Other Mark, on the other side. I want to make sure that everybody's been able to sign the book. Anybody miss signing? Now's your time. Everybody? No? Just for you. Not gonna embarrass you. You can do it afterwards if you missed it. Okay. Thank you for doing that. Freshmen, I know some of them just got seated, but would all of you stand? If you are a freshman student, would all of you stand? You are the class, the freshman class of 2022, and we want to welcome you officially as a Grizzly today. You may be seated. I think Dr. Toddy has some issues.
All right, so I know there are some of you who may just have come for your extra points, I get it, but there's a prize. So somebody's walking out of here with this bad boy. There's a table out if you want to make sure and sign in for your IDS points. Do that before you leave. Jackson, would you come hold the bucket so I can draw a name? You have to be present to win, so if I call the person's name, they're not here, then I'll draw another one. Evan Ackerson. Evan Ackerson, are you here? Somebody please be sure to text him that he won. His mom is shamed now. Max Noel.
Damn, you gonna hear these?
I'm making a list after the list. Okay. Shane Hull. And when you show up, good things happen.
Congratulations, Shane. Again, if you have not signed your IDS sheet, make sure you've done that as you're leaving. You all have a very good weekend. We have another week next week. So. And then if you haven't signed,